Right guys, let's have a look at creating a slideshow for an iPad using the Folio as the vehicle for packaging, as I showed you in the previous tutorial. So as normal, we open InDesign and we go to a document. This time we're going to digital publishing. You'll notice that we can have an iPad, an Android, Kindle or an iPhone. Stick with the iPad. Orientation, we're going the V orientation, vertical or portrait. The rest we'll leave as default. And there's our iPad screen. Now it might look like an A4 to you, but the dimensions are to fit the screen of an iPad. We can zoom in and out if we wanted to, but let's just work on this pane at the moment, because on each side I'm going to put the menus for folio and overlays. So if I call up the folio builder, window folio builder, you can see I've got a couple there. This is the part where it wants to connect to the internet, to the cloud, to upload content. We're just going to cancel that because we're not going to do that. We're going to use Content Viewer. Also, window folio overlays is all of those effects that we can have for our electronic media, and we're going to use a slideshow. Now, if I click on the slideshow, it's not activated at the moment. We have to create a multi-state object. I'll talk about that in a moment. So when they're in italics, that means that nothing is doable yet. We have to actually work on the page and set it up properly before we can use these effects. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new folio, and we're going to call it Year 9 Slide. You can see I had one there before. And we have to pick the orientation. It's the portrait. If you don't do that, it won't save it. So Year 9 Slide, I just go back. There it is. And you add articles to it. This is the article, but before we do that, we File, Save As. If we go to Libraries, Documents, School, Year 9 ICT, Term 4, we are going to create a new folder called Year 9 Slide. We're going to open that, and this is where we have to be very careful. We're going to call this slide, but underscore B, because it's in the vertical orientation. If you wanted a horizontal one so you can flip your iPad to look at it, read it either way, then you need to create a second file with the H there. But let's keep it simple at the moment. Now we're going to add the article to our folios. We're going to add the open one. If you could have had others that you've created before that you want to bring in, so you've got several pages, but in this case it's the one that we have open, and we're just going to call it Slide. Okay, and it built it for us, so we're all done. It's success there. So it's ready. It's ready to do that packaging. And there's the preview. Later on in Content Viewer, we'll have a look at whether what we built on here matches what we'll see on the iPad. So let's get some pictures for a slideshow. Let's pick these 4, and we open them. Now let's just drag them to that size. You'll notice they're all different sizes, so we'll just we want those all on top of each other, but let's just mess with them first. So let's make this the right size. This one, click on there, auto fit, get it lined up, and let's just drag it down and make it a little distort. There we go. Perfect. This one, auto fit. And just there. Oh, I think one of the faults of InDesign, or one thing that sometimes happens, it creates an extra box. So if we just delete that extra frame, don't need that. And we're going for size here. Fit. There we go. So our pictures are pretty close to perfect in size, but you could really mess with those and get them 100% perfect. What I'm doing now is I'm selecting all of them. If you notice, they're all selected, they all move. And we're going to use the Align tool just to align them. So that one in the top left edges and in the horizontal centers. No, it didn't move much, so they're pretty much aligned. So let's say, we may have text all around these pictures. Now, we're almost there. We still notice that the slideshow is not activated. So if I click on it, it says create a multi-state object. So what that is converting this to an object with multi-states, or 4 different states, and that represents each image. So if we go here, Window, Interactive, Object States, and it says click the New button, which is down here, so we convert them. They've all come in. So they're the 4 states of this one object. Let's call it the slide. We're just about done. Now we need to save our so as soon as I've done that, notice now the slideshow has become come out of italics. If I click on it, it gives me the option. So I'm just going to pick autoplay. You could pick swipe to change image, but let's just try it with autoplay first. Before previewing, save it, otherwise it won't work. So save. Now let's go to the preview. Right, there's a content view opening, and there's our slideshow. There we go. You'll notice that the pictures are slightly different in size, but that's acceptable given the amount of time I spent editing, and they just keep going. If I just close that, you have some other options. You can swipe, you can hide before playing, you can tap to play or pause and delay. So you can play with those effects, but that is, in a nutshell, a very simple way of explaining how to create a slideshow. If you really wanted to get into this, if you go onto YouTube, there's some great tutorials on, for example, placing thumbnails down here, and when you click on the thumbnail, the corresponding picture comes up. But yeah, lots of things you can do, but that's a good start. So let's see if you can now replicate that.